What up, guys? This is Casey is Raw again, and this is a video about the 20 years of September 11th since it's the tragic events that has happened. This might sound selfish, but I remember it certainly didn't feel like 20 years ago, but it's just it's amazing how much time and how much stuff happens in your lifetime in 20 years you could packed in that time frame. Like when that happened, I know exactly where it was. I was at a metal shop in Oklahoma, and and I was a grinder because I want to be a welder. And uh, being in the metal shop and kind of what I do now, you get people who, you get practical pranks every once in a while. Impractical pranks, I guess that's. But, so I was walking through and someone says a plane hit the World Trade Center, one of the World Trade Center. Then a little later on, I heard another one. I was like, and then I heard about the Pentagon. I was like, oh, come on. All these getting hit at the same time. I thought they were screwing with me about that. The only time I found out it was real is until I got off from work and heading home. And one of the things is, at this time frame, my mom was having her knees being replaced. And, God, 20 years of that. Wow. That's amazing. But during that time, I was also dealing with my back injury. I had a torn disc in my lower part of my spine. So if you really think about it, 20 years, I can list all the stuff happened in my lifetime in the last 20 years. Obviously, that metal shop job. Uh, what happened after that? I got laid off because I was missing so much days because related either to my back injury and I couldn't take the pain, or the meds I was taking related to my back injury. I was only there for 3 months, and that just happened to be during that time frame. And that I was doing 10-hour days. All I was doing grinding welds to the point where I had what's called trigger finger, where like I had to literally lift my finger up and it would spring right back up, and it just took a little bit for it to get normal reaction. But then after that, I kind of took some time off because my I was trying to recover from my back injury. Luckily, after 2 years of therapy, I finally got over my back injury to the point where today my back. The only time when my back would hurt is if I just overdo it too much, or the changing of weather, and my back would ache. But when I'm now 40, almost 40 years old, body aches is going to happen. Especially I'm a hefty guy. But after I finally recovered, looking around, trying to look for a job, back in '02, I was starting working at Sears Mall. And I was working on the dock, the receiving dock, or shipping and handling. I would unload trailers and then separate the items to departments and then send the items out to the departments. And then we bring out the products to the customers. If it's big products, then we'll load them up in their vehicle. Then, like, a few years after doing that, I became what's called an MCA, that I would do signing mostly in hardware, lawn and garden, sports, uh, or fitness section, or athletic section, whatever they called it. And then also, I would do some work in electronics. And every once in a while, like appliance, like washers, dryers, and refrigerators and stuff like that, microwaves. And same thing with mattresses. Sometimes a mattress, very rarely. And then one year I was doing that, I was also trying to get back in the field in welding. I started this one place. Actually, before I started at Sears, I tried this one place. They lied to me about welding, but all you were doing was loading steel onto a flatbed trailer, and they lied to me. They said welding, and there was no welding nowhere. So I got out of that place after the first night. I said screw it. Plus, it was third shift. I did not like that. And then Sears happened. And then in the middle of Sears, I tried to get to this metal shop job. I believe it's the first time I was going to hit $10 an hour at this metal shop. But that did not last long because politics happened. And I was still very green. But politics happened. And I got laid off after like a month. And then, plus I was actually working for a temp agency. Yeah. And then I got my job back at Sears until, I believe sometime in 08. Maybe early 08. And, actually, before all that, very late of 2006, I met the person who became my wife, who sadly became my late wife, Liz. And we dated for a little bit, for a few months before she had to move. But actually, we dated, separated. I went on another relationship. She did too. Then we got together before she moved to, I believe, Florida. Then we both got in different relationships again. And we got back together sometime in talking around late 07. And then we finally decided to get together and move to Pennsylvania in early 08. So me and her, we moved to Du Bois, Pennsylvania for 2-3 months. Then we moved to Las Vegas for 2 or 3 months. And then I just told her I have to work. One, I was getting stir crazy staying at an apartment. Some people would at a place, a house, apartment, or a hotel room. I mean, I just can't even if I had some game system, I got to get back to work. I like to make my own money. So, we finally settled on moving back to Pennsylvania, going all the way to Mount Pocono. And to backtrack a little bit, she was a traveling dialysis. So that's how I met her. Actually met her. She hated. She was embarrassed about this, but she never wanted to tell people this. But I met her on MySpace. I found her, and I messaged her. But we got together, but she would tell her friends and family that she met me at Sears. I mean, she did come by Sears, but just to make it true, but or maybe just because that's she just thought about just thinking an a white lie. But I find it kind of funny. But yeah, we lived in Mount Pocono for about maybe 6 months, maybe 6 months to a year, give or take. And then we were living with her family. Finally, after like a month and a half after we moved up there, I finally got into this field. I finally got uh, working as semi trailer mechanic, where this job is no longer there. They did bad business, but at the same time, I was trying to. I also got a second job working at Sears back at the dock, but I did a month of that. I couldn't take because I was working every day for a month. I was like, I can't do this. I mean, I was making good money, but I was like, I'm like, never had time to relax. An easy day was just if I was working one day at one place. But I just didn't want to do that no more. So I obviously took the job that was making $12 over 8 something an hour. I'm like, that's common sense. So I was like, I mean, and then how I found this trailer shop job, I was looking through Craigslist. And I saw on an ad saying welding repair work on trailers. First thing I thought when I thought trailers, you know, those little trailers that you hitch up uh to your truck. Not to So when I went down there and talked to my manager and he's driving me around the road train track, I guess trying to the rail yard where these trailers would come off the train. There's called intermodal, where they take the trailers up. They use some kind of grappler and they grab the container off and lower it onto a chassis. Well, this company, their trailers were interlinked. There was a thing that sticks out from the trailer, and the other trailer has a uh, huge pin that goes through that section right here. And then there was a bogie, a trailer railroad bogie in the middle of it, and there's airlines, a huge like air hose about that big going under the trailer, interlink with the railroad bogie, all the way, keep going, snaking all the way to the train, and all the way to the end of what's the I think they call the end of train device. And you gotta make sure there's no blockage in that air hose. But yeah, when he was driving me all over the rail yard, and I was looking at these trailers, I was like, I was nearly gonna shit my pants. I was like, what am I gonna do? I mean, I don't know this type of work. I just want to weld. And then he's like, "Do you want to be a people who put these trailers together? No, put them when they come in. They call them building a train or ripping a train. That's a crew that just that's all they do. They build a train up or they rip a train apart and they park the trailers. And all the time, it wouldn't fail if there's going to be a set of two trailers stuck together that we would have to get called out and to unstuck them, or something will be wrong, and they would leave a trailer out there for us to get it off the train tracks. So I was there for over 5 years, the longest job I had still. But I did something stupid. I was young and dumb. But I eventually went from that job to a bigger company, one of the biggest companies I ever worked for, and a Fortune 500 company. Let's just say that. And I was only there for about a year and a half, close to 2 years. I got fired for a bum drug test. I proven them I was clean, but they would not take my results of my second drug test because they wanted to take a sample of the same set that got failed. Like, dude, I took a hair test immediately right after I got that failed drug test and passed. But I didn't harp too much. I should have sued that company. But I was already hired at another big company, and I did not want to be that guy who sued their last job. I want to just be a normal person, just there just to do their job. And at that time, when I was working at the first shop, me and my late wife, moved from, we went from Mount Pocono with her parents to Effort, Pennsylvania with her parents, to the point we had to leave her parents. We couldn't take it no more. We were already paying their whole rent, pretty much their whole rent. So we went from that to we were staying at this place for 6-7 years called Lehighton, Pennsylvania. Like that town. I really liked that town. But we were getting taxed for school tax for we don't even have a kid. And we didn't have a house. We were living in an apartment. So I was like, why are we paying this every year? So after 6-7 years, we moved from that to Palmerton, Pennsylvania for about a year or so. And at that time, my wife went from when she was when we were living in Pennsylvania. When we were living in Lehighton, Pennsylvania, there she was working at dialysis in Lehighton. But then let's start talking more what happened with her. So she was working there for a couple years, and then her ailment came in effect. She had what's called pseudotumor cerebri, brain fluid. It's called a fake tumor. What it is, they called it. Her brain is creating too much brain fluid that she couldn't disperse. So the only way they could do that was doing spinal taps. And sadly, one of those spinal taps, I mean, they were relieving the pain with those spinal taps, but the thing is, they didn't think of a solution until it was already too late. She already had infection in her spine from one of those spinal taps. But they did put what's called a shunt in her head. You couldn't really tell unless you put your hand on it. It's not like something sticking out of her head. You couldn't even really see it. Especially if she had her hair. You couldn't see like a big bump or something. But, sadly, a lot of that caused her to relapse on her drug use. I don't blame her. The reason is she was in massive pain. And it sucks. And I know if I'm having back injury, but I know she was probably in way worse pain than I was. And I felt like I was in crippling pain, so I can't imagine what she went through. So, she was going between pain pills, and, if you ever take any types of meds, you kind of you adapt, where the effect is not as strong no more. So she just had to dial it up on her meds to the point she was having a fentanyl patch. And fentanyl patch seemed to help her a lot. I mean, she's starting to be a little bit more active, but it just seems they were worried because they saw her maybe relapse. And me being never did drugs in my life, I don't really see the signs until too late, Sadly, like 6 months before she passed, give or take, we're starting to see signs. Like, we're starting to see black stuff everywhere. She would have black stuff on her face. It's like, I would ask her, what's the shit on your face? And she would deny she was on drugs. Then, Cinco de Mayo, on May 5th, 2017, I lost my wife. And I already told about this story before, the whole deal. Don't really want to get into that because it's going to make me emotional, super emotional. But I still think about her every day. I love her. I would give all this up right now and the hobby to have her back right now. And sometimes, if you had that person you've been for a long time, a good chunk of 10 years I was live with that woman. I mean, we had our fights or arguments, but I might have said, I don't know, I'm about had it, about ready to divorce, but I didn't want to do that either because I was worried about her drug use. It wasn't because maybe sometimes, we had, like you said, arguments, but it was mainly because of her drug use, and I was worried about her. And I didn't know what to do. But, God, I still feel like I was about to say, if you've been with someone that long and you love that person so much, you kind of feel like that person's really not gone. You feel like that person's still out there somewhere. But pretty much a month after, didn't know what to do. Right after she passed, I knew I had to do something. because my brother-in-law was was involved with this woman who later became his wife. And I knew, like, eventually they were going to move out and I was going to get stuck with this apartment and I'm going to get stuck in Pennsylvania. So I just told him, like, I didn't want to. I told him, I was like, dude, I want to go back to Oklahoma. At least I'll have family there and some friends. So he might had an oh shit moment because, like, he thought I was meant that moment, like in a few days. Like, no, I'm like, I was gonna give him. I gave him like a soft deadline. He didn't know that was a soft deadline. He thought at the end of June I had to be. I wanted to be gone. No, it was a soft deadline. He made it a hard deadline when he left. But I don't harbor no ill will against him or his wife. Um, I understand. I mean, he's got to do what he's got to do for him and his wife. I understand that. That's why I have no I mean, at the time, I harbor ill will or bad feelings, wherever. But now, years later, I I understand. I was a good year or so. I was in the. I was lost. Even when I was here, I just deep dived in two things: in my work and game hunting, because it took, you know, preoccupied me. And I had friends and family help me, but I should have went to um I should have went to therapy for that. But I didn't. Probably should still, but there's so much things going on in my life. It's just I barely have time to think, quite frankly. But I believe in 2015 I started watching the Joe Cronin crew and watching the Saw Monster and gosh, who else? One of the first people I watched, not only Saw Monster, Don Tony and Kevin Costner's show, and then I migrated. I still watched Saw Monster, but I would also watch Joe Cronin, and then I started watching Foul Mouth Ken, then JB Sports Radio, then Drew's show that I'm on now, but later on with those a few of those, about 2017, about those shows, or 2018. But yeah, in 2017, in July 2017, I moved back to Oklahoma, living with my mom, because both me and my mom are widows. So we're helping each other out. I mean, I don't want her to be alone, and I'm sure she doesn't want me to be alone. So, good year. So, yeah, I was emotional. Tiny little things would trigger me. Not like fits of rage trigger. I'm talking about emotional triggers. One of the biggest ones I can remember, I was in the bathroom doing my business. You don't need to know what I was doing, but I looked at the doorknob, and that was it. That triggered me right there because I was that triggered the emotional about what happened with my late wife. I mean, because a door was related to because I had to unlock the bathroom door to see she was gone. But then, yeah, in 2018, I started about 2.5 year relationship with this great woman. Great woman, still, at least we're still good friends. And she's still good friends with my mom, too. And back up a little bit in 2017, about after a month and a half, I've slowly had to unpack a bunch of stuff I had in a pod. I had at least this pod for a month to unload a bunch of stuff into the house. It was like a 16-foot pod. So, pretty much filled the whole thing. I, uh, there, there's some sections that filled it all the way to the top. So, amazingly, a lot of that stuff went undamaged too, because a pod going Pennsylvania all the way down to Oklahoma, like damn near what 1,800 miles. Yeah, but I was, I believe in 2017, August 2017, I started at this new job that was, I continue working at the trailer shop job for uh for damn near 3 years. Didn't get a raise at all. I'm still living with that company, by the way. That company screwed me over badly. That I wanted to, once I got the new shop, I wanted to pull people from the good people from there over this new shop because I wanted to do it just to fuck them over for screwing me over. But and treat me badly too. But some of the people stayed there. They didn't want to come over. I'm like, all right, you know what? I gave you that option. But but during 2020, during the pandemic, right in the middle, like August of 2020, I got laid off. Pretty sure they didn't want to pay me what I'm paying, no, what they're paying me, so they can hire cheaper help. And so, what you get what you pay for, right? Exactly. I mean, at that time, I had 11 years, 12-year experience. Now I'm in 13-year experience. I deserve what I get and probably plus more, by the way. Not perfect. I don't know everything, but um I think it was another month or so before I finally got this job where I'm at now. But there's certainly uh I do enjoy this work. So I like to thank, and that's pretty much where I'm at now. I mean, I can't believe all the stuff that happened in 20 years. I mean, I went through a bunch of jobs, injury. I went through meeting my wife, to moving to Pennsylvania, starting a new field, um, losing my wife, moving back to Oklahoma, and starting another relationship for 2.5 years, and and then pretty much where I'm at now. I mean, it was a journey. I mean, I was thinking about it. This is like 20 years of stuff. It's amazing. You feel like when you go day to day, not a lot happened, but think about it, 20 years. There's a ton that happened. And I guarantee you, same stuff well, I mean, there's a ton of stuff happened to anyone in 20 years. So I figured I wanted to keep this under wraps because I want mine to come out first about 20 years between what happened with 9/11 in 2001 and 9/11 2021. So I appreciate you guys coming by. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you guys later.